everyone. Welcome to our first ever High V Center podcast. We're welcoming everyone here to meet with us. I'm Marlin Blakeney, host of QWorld podcast. QWorld is one of the original and first podcasts I've ever done. Originally set up to talk to you about real people, real world, their experiences, and how they've overcome all of their obstacles to become great and what it took. Today, we are very, very fortunate to have a good friend of mine, Brian McRae. Brian McRae played Major League Baseball center fielder for the Kansas City Royals, the New York Mets, the Chicago Cubs, the Colorado Rockies, and the Toronto Bluejays. Really, really good friend. Came watch me a little bit while I was at Kansas University, and from there we've been actually great friends and followed each other throughout the course of the years. Today, he is here to talk a little bit about his life, his experiences, what he's currently doing now, and the impact Kansas City and his dad, Hal McRae, had on him today and his future. So today, man, I want to welcome you big time.
Thank you, Bob.
Man. Really good to see you.
It's good to be able to get together and reconnect and hang out.
Right.
After all these years of watching each other from afar, and you get back in the Kansas City area, so it's been nice, and remember some of the good times, and then make it more good times.
No doubt, that's right. Every day, and this was funny. He's being humble, but I moved back to Kansas City. And I didn't know where I wanted to stay, like permanently. So I was going to go down south on the Kansas side because that's all I've really known for the most part. I never really lived downtown because downtown was kind of this.
You didn't hang out downtown.
There was nothing going on, right? Really. And then over the last 10 years, it's just boomed, right? They're booming. So Brian called him up, was like, man, give me some ideas. Where do you think I should stay? He's like, man, no question, downtown. So literally came down, saw a couple places, and overnight moved in. So I want to thank you for that because I love it down here in Kansas City, Missouri, downtown. And again, this is part of what happened since I've been down here. We met some great people and continue networking, like I said, have some good times. So Brian, I think everybody wants to know, man, a little bit about you. Is like, where are you originally from? Like, where were you born?
Originally from Bradenton, Florida, and that's where my parents grew up. My mom's from Bradenton. My dad's from a little bit outside of there, Avon Park, Florida. They're native Floridians. And even though during the season my dad was all over the place, started off playing with the Reds, and then here in Kansas City, we always had a home in Florida.
Gotcha.
So whatever was going on during baseball season, we were at that point where my dad was in the minor leagues or in Cincinnati or here in Kansas City. For the most part, the family would be together baseball season. After we got done with school, I'd move here to Kansas City, finish up school year here, start the school year the next year, and after baseball season was over in early November or so, until I started playing high school football, we would go back to Florida in early November. High school football, they allowed me to stay in Kansas City a little bit longer, so we stay until probably early December or so, right around Thanksgiving. So I went back and forth to two high schools, to Blue Springs here in the Kansas City area, and Manatee High School in Bradenton, Florida. And I did that all 4 years. They weren't, at that time, weren't any issues. I made sure I did the state requirements in both places, but everybody's like, well, why didn't your parents just stay here in Kansas City? They're Floridians. They don't like cold weather.
Exactly.
They didn't want to stick around. Yeah. And all they known is Florida, and that's where they have roots and feel comfortable. This was their second home, and they enjoyed it here also, but they didn't want to spend the winters here, so I would have to pack up and go back and rejoin my school there. But it wasn't bad because that's what I knew. You being a military family, you're used to moving around.
That's right.
And being in a baseball family, even though my dad played the majority of his career here in Kansas City, he played 14 of his 17 or 18 years here with the Kansas City Royals. He was in Cincinnati for parts of 6 years, going up and down between the minor leagues and the big leagues. So we've lived in Knoxville, Tennessee. We lived in Puerto Rico. We lived in Caracas, Venezuela. We've bounced all over the place, and I was used to it. Since I was the oldest, I was the one that traveled the most. When my brother, who's 5 years younger than me, and my sister, who's 10 years younger than me, when they were born, my dad was here. He was established here. He didn't get traded away. stayed here, but I was the one that was moving all over the place. So I was used to it, and it wasn't really that big of a deal to me to be 6 or 7 months one place, 5 or 6 months another place, and pick up and do it all over again.
There's something I feel like a lot of people don't get, and I think it's really important when you're raising kids. I think we all have this idea how we want to, not control them, but want to be around them, want to manage them, not get them into too much or too little, and try to manipulate their lives when it's just not even up to us how it's manipulated. But talk a little bit about how the impact of traveling benefited you as a youngster to where you are today, as far as your mentality, your attitude.
I'm just used to it. And the movements and moving around and things happen spur of the moment. I'm that was ingrained in me because one day we'd be in Indianapolis, which is the AAA farm club for the Reds, and the next day they say that my dad got called up, so my dad would be gone, and my mom and myself and my uncle used to come up, and he used to drive us around all the time and just help us move, and that just happened. So over time I got used to things happening quick, making adjustments, and adapting and being the type of person that could fit in with all kind of different crowds, because I was around different people. I tie my shoes a different way because my babysitter was from England.
Oh, well, get out of here.
And so I never knew what I was doing was wrong, but I tie my shoes backwards.
Okay, I got
But my babysitter when I was young, he was an English guy.
Gotcha.
And I learned from him. And then I had Spanish speaking friends that I go to their house and eat so I didn't see anything as being abnormal with the movements and being with people from different cultures as a little kid, because I was thrown into situations where it's like, you got to survive.
Sink or swim.
Yeah, and you have to figure it out. It's like there's a guy from England here. I don't speak Spanish, but the two kids at my age that I got to play with, they speak Spanish, so I had to figure it out. And so that, fast forward to now, I'm just used to those things. In the minor leagues, I live with the Latin guys. Nobody wanted to live with the Latin guys in the minor league. They didn't feel comfortable, but I was already used to that. So those type of things, when certain situations come up, I've been going through them, and it's not say easy for me, but I understand and I can adapt, and it doesn't stress me out. And I think that's something that you've met some of my friends. I have got friends all over the spectrum.
Yes, you do.
And I think that's because of being able to adjust and move around and meet different people and figure out there's a lot of common ground in what everybody wants to do.
That's right. That's exactly right. So the cool thing about what I heard you say earlier, because I played football, and I think back when we were growing up, we all played a lot of everything. Played football, baseball, all year round, track, all that stuff. But you said you played football in Kansas City, and then you went back to Bradenton area and played baseball. Which one did you like more? Like if you had
football wise, I never put on pads till the 9th grade. Okay. So I wasn't ready for Florida football. My high school in Florida was turning out D1 athletes. There's 6 or 7 guys that played in the NFL that went to Manatee High School. They win state championships or go compete. It is similar in this area to Rockhurst, but we were a public school. And we were kind of similar to what Rockhurst was. I wasn't ready for that as a freshman. I hadn't played any organized football. Those kids have been playing organized football. So here at Blue Springs, I was able to find myself as a football player at a slower pace than I would. I probably wouldn't have played down in Florida. So that worked out good for me there on the football side, because I knew nothing. Knew no play. I was just an athlete.
Yeah, I got you.
They wouldn't have had time to develop me down in Florida when they were able to do that at Blue Springs. And as for baseball wise, the competition that I faced in Florida and the weather and the things like that, I was playing against Gary Sheffield There were guys like that. Derek Bell, Dwight. There were guys like that in that area. Tino Martinez, Luis Gonzalez, Fred McGriff. Those were guys that were in my area. They were in Tampa,
Gotcha.
And I was just south of there. And so when I got to varsity, I was playing against guys that were going to be in the big leagues, that I would see later on in the big leagues. So playing against that type of competition was good. And then I played Legion ball here in Kansas City, and Legion ball at that time was a lot better than high school ball. The weather was better. You playing, it just seemed like the style of play was a lot better than your normal high school season in the Midwest. So I think I got the best of both worlds in how I was able to develop in baseball and football because of the movements and moving around. And I think the exposure that I got it wasn't travel teams, but I was kind of on a travel team with myself, with the bouncing around and the back and forth. And again, just making those adjustments, being able to be coached by different people and having different teammates, different sets of teammates, different coaches, different philosophies, all those things that I was able to have thrown at me at a young age and then adapt and adjust to.
What I found is valuable, and me and you think the same this way. I believe the best outcomes you can get for when you're raising kids or have kids you're coaching or whatever is to put them in uncomfortable positions. And you're saying the exact same thing, making you figure it out, overcoming obstacles, but also it's giving you that mentality that if you put your mind to it, you can succeed. And competing against the best competition. When you transitioned, like when you came from high school, obviously you said you played against some of the great players, some superstars, all-stars in MLB in high school. When did you know, like I always ask that because I have a certain point when I knew I was going to be able to go to college or I knew I could go to the next level. When did you know, like, okay, I'm going to be able to play in AAA or AA?
It took a few years because I was the youngest kid. I graduated at 17. I had a late birthday or early birthday, however you want to say it. So I graduated as a 17-year-old, and 2 months after playing my last high school or Legion game, I'm signing a pro contract and I'm playing against men, like college kids that are a lot older than me. So it took me a while to figure things out because I struggled my first 3 or 4 years in the minor leagues, and it just took me a while to kind of catch up. I was good, but I was not where those guys were, and they were 5 years, 4 or 5 years older than me, stronger, more mature. High school you don't play every day, pro ball you play every day. We were down in Florida in the hot sun in the summertime playing games every day, and that'll beat you up. So that schedule, that grind, I wasn't used to. We'd work out and then play a game. We have a full practice and full 2.5 hours. I was used to 25, 30 minutes, get ready, and then you play your game, not a full day. So it took me a while to get used to the professional baseball schedule, the things that you're asked to do. And as a 17-year-old, you're thrown into that where some of these guys have already had structure of college, and it's similar, and I didn't. So it was probably 3 or 4 years in the minor leagues before I caught up to speed, for one. And then once I caught up to speed, understood that I could hang with those guys. Because a lot of guys I'd seen on TV playing college baseball at the College World Series. I'm playing against guys from Miami, LSU, Arizona State, USC, and you look back like 2 or 3 years ago, I was watching these guys. They were on ESPN playing in Omaha. Right. Like, am I that good? It's like I'm just a good high school player, but these guys are good college players. So that awe, I was in awe of some of those guys for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Until I started having some success playing against them, to understand that we were on the same playing field, even though they had accomplished some things in their amateur career that I wasn't. I didn't do because I signed out of high school. So you have to get over that awestruck of some of those guys, because some of those guys put some great numbers up in college. And I was like, I'm on the same field with these guys. But like, hold on, you okay. You're here because you can play with them. And I think that's the biggest thing as a young kid. just understanding that you do belong, and just because they did some things, that doesn't mean that they're that much better than you.
You're making it sound really easy. I want to talk a little bit more about that because I think there's a lot of kids that, not on different levels, not just pro, but college. People are going to college. Kids are going to college from high school. Maybe this is your first year as a junior. You're going to play varsity next year in basketball or baseball or football. And you've been watching this stuff from your freshman year. You've been watching the juniors and seniors and the athletes that are real good, and you don't know if you got there. What did you do? So it's a mentality, I guess, is what I'm asking. But how did you? Because you can get overwhelmed real quick. It could be you go in there and you can just shut down. Or was it little bitty wins every day that you found that you could do, or how did you sustain over time to build that success and that mentality that I can hang with these guys?
I watched the best guys and tried to emulate what they did. Gotcha. So I watched some of the top prospects, not only with the Royals, but we would play spring training games against the other minor league teams when I first signed. And there was 6 or 7 teams that be there, and you knew who the top prospects were, and you just watched how they worked, what they did, what made them successful, how they carried themselves, what they, what they did on and off the field, things like that. I just watched those things, and it's okay, well, I like that. I like how he goes about, he does this, and how, he had a bad day, but he's not throwing helmets, he's not throwing bats, he just walked back to the dugout, went out and played defense, just kind of watch those things. And that's what I did. I just wanted to soak up a lot, ask a lot of questions, and just watch. Right. Watching and listening are two things that I don't think a lot of, not only athletes, but just a lot of young kids in general don't do enough. They want to talk too much, and they want to try to do too much without understanding the process. And I didn't think I was going to get to the big leagues in a short period of time. I didn't know I was going to struggle like I struggled at times in the minor leagues, but I didn't think it was going to be an easy road to get to the big leagues. So I tried to take a step back, learn as much as I could, listen, watch the guys that were doing things that I wanted to do, and see how they did it, and then try to repeat those things.
I love it, man. I love it. The thing that I think we need to really talk about, and I think it's prevalent today, obviously, is COVID. And so we talked about your transition from high school to playing ball to the next level. Talk a little bit about today, the challenges that not only just high school kids have playing baseball, but with COVID, but going to the next level, the idea of how to get there.
Well, I think the biggest thing that we've seen impacted over the past year and a half is colleges. If you're trying to get to college, they haven't been able to recruit and get out and recruit. A lot of them haven't been able to bring kids on campus. I think June 1st is when it's going to open up. Right. Kids have seen extra years added. Right. So if you're a high school senior,
that's right.
You're going to college now, competing. You may be competing against a 24, 25-year-old.
Right. True.
So the dynamics have changed from what you want to do, go to a 4-year school or go to a 2-year school. A lot of kids, especially in baseball, are choosing to go to junior college route right now because they have a chance to play earlier than going to a 4-year school where they have seniors coming back or juniors that should have been gone, right. And now they're coming back. So I think that the dynamics have changed to where you're looking D1 or bust. You may have to change your focus. True. And not only with athletes, some of my friends that have kids that were going into their freshman year, they decided not to go to a 4-year school. And they stayed home and worked and went to junior college during COVID because they were thinking, I'm not going to get the 4-year school experience my freshman year.
Not at all. Yep.
If I'm going to do fraternity, sorority, just the social things like aspect of it, and I'm spending all this money, or my parents are spending this money, right. And we're doing virtual school. I can do virtual school from anywhere.
Exactly.
So it changed the focus where I've seen a lot.
And it's just your core subjects anyway. The first 2 years.
Right. I've seen a lot of kids that said, you know what, for my freshman and sophomore year, I'm probably just going to go to junior college with all this going on and wait a couple years and see how it plays itself out. Right. And then I'll be ready for the 4-year school. and hopefully it's opened up to where I can enjoy it the way you're supposed to enjoy college. Because the kids, friends of mine that are gone off the 4-year schools, a lot of them, they're enjoying it, but they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So they hear about what they're missing out on. They're enjoying it because it's what they're doing right now. But next year or the year after, when things open up and you're able to get that full college experience, they're going to be like, wow, I wasted a year sitting in the dorms on the computer doing virtual school and paying $15,000, things like that. So I think in the COVID age, and hopefully we're about to come out of it,
I agree with you.
that you've had to look at what you want to do and change it, because what you want to do and what you're allowed to do is two different things.
That's a good point. Thank you. Gotcha. So, and this is what the killer is. I think that most parents are struggling with, because with COVID, what it's done, I think, isn't giving kids less opportunity or less. It's giving them ideas and different paths. So I look at negatives as positives. That's just how I've always been. So if something doesn't go the way I go, I don't shut down and think it's over. I look at it as that this is just a better path or different path that I could probably, so if I was like we were in college, if we're good athletes and we could go D1, I feel like I would do better at a JUCO as far as just dominating, building my skill set, being a leader for a team, put in a position to be, ahead earlier, right? Being in a position to start earlier, being in a position to be a team leader earlier, to be in a position to lead and do things I need to do. So with these baseball players or any athlete going in right now that are deciding that, hey, D1, I got half of the seniors are staying another year because of COVID, because the NCAA let them. I go to JUCO. I feel like I could ball and be just as good. And not only that, with the way the social media and with the way that technology is, it doesn't really matter where you go anymore like it did back when we played, because if you weren't at one of the bigger schools, it's really kind of hard for you to be seen. But now with social media and it's ESPN everywhere and it's just worldwide, you can go anywhere. If you can ball, they're going to see you. They're going to find you, right?
That's the way it is. And before that was... it was like that. If you could play, you're going to get found. Mm-hmm. But mentality of young kids and mentality of some parents are, you don't brag about your kid going to junior college. No, unfortunately, a lot of people look down at junior colleges. Right. And say it's just a step above high school. They downplay the importance of junior college for the kids or the athletes that aren't ready for a 4. Not everybody's ready for a 4-year school.
Not at all.
This transition is very important, because it's not. I always tell the kids, it's not where you start, it's where you end up. Mm-hmm. So you can go to your junior college, figure out some things, set a good base for what you're going to do as far as a student, how you're going to do things socially, get everything together. Right. Some kids need that. Junior colleges serve a purpose.
Yeah, maturity, man. That's rough.
And then once you go to the 4-year school and you step on that campus, you can compete as a student. You can compete as an athlete. Socially, you're 2 years you're more mature. Right. And I think we have to change how we talk about it and how we think about it, because there's people that have done great things that have started off at junior college and end up at a big 4-year school, but you don't hear people brag on their kids about like he's going to Johnson County Community College. They keep that stuff quiet.
Yeah, they do.
Why? There's nothing wrong with it. So we have to somehow convince our kids that there's nothing wrong with that. No. You're not taking a step back. You're not less of a person if you go to junior college. It's not a bad thing. Get the negative stigma away from junior college. Junior colleges set up a lot of people for greatness.
Yes, they do. That's right.
And they serve a purpose. That's why they're there. It's better to go to junior college and then go to D1 school than go to a D1 school or a 4-year school and have to come back. That's right. Because once you go backwards, then you feel defeated.
You really do. It's hard to come back after that to D1. That's a good point. So with your career, like, we're going to move to your the MLB, and those first steps. Like, let's talk about that first time you got moved up. Like, what was going on in your mind, and how did that feel to you when you got that call?
I was in AA in Memphis for my third season in Memphis. I got called up from A-ball to Memphis the first time in I think it was '88. So I played like a month in A-ball in Florida, did well, got called up to Memphis, struggled pretty much the whole rest of the year in Memphis, but stayed there in Memphis. '89 came back to Memphis, and I was moved to the outfield in '89. I've been a shortstop and second baseman pretty much my whole minor league career up until that point. So '89, I come back to spring training. They moved me to left field. I have a little bit better year, but still figuring some things out, hitting wise and learning a new position. So struggle in '89. In '90, I think I go to spring training with the big league team for the first time. I get put on the 40-man roster, which is what they have to do to protect minor league players.
Gotcha.
So I signed in '85. This is '90. So this is my 6th year pro ball, and it's right at that point where you got to figure some things out, and you know where your career is going. I'm either gonna get to the big leagues quickly, or I may have to find another job, do something else. I moved from left field to center field in '90, and then things just started to click there that year with that team and that group. And August of '90, early August of '90, Bo Jackson got hurt, and I got called up at that point, and I was, as I said, I was in Huntsville, Alabama. We were playing against the A's AA team in Huntsville. It was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Knock on my door. We won't stay in nice hotels in the minor leagues. It was like a Motel 6 or something like that. And I thought guys were playing a joke on me and fooling around after they come back from going out, knocking on my door like, "Get up! You got the call. Get up!" I was like, "Man, stop playing."
Get out of here!
It's too early. It's too early in the morning, and it was my manager. And he would be he was known to hang out late, but also the prank. He was known to come back to the hotel late, loud. And I just like, "Man, Coxie, go to bed." Jeff Cox was his name. No, he's like, "Hey," he goes, "Hey, get your stuff. You're going to the big leagues." And it's like 3:30, 4 o'clock. I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yes." He goes, "The clubhouse guy is here. He's going to take you to the ballpark." He goes, "Get your stuff. You're going to Kansas City, and I never want to see you in the minor leagues again."
I love it.
He said that. It's like, and he started telling me the story. He goes, "John Sherholz, who was the GM for the Royals, like, Sherholz called me and said, 'Can he play in the big leagues right now?' And I said, 'Well, he may not be able to hit.' No, I didn't ask if he can hit. I said, 'Can he play center field in the big leagues right now?' And Jeff Cox says, 'Yeah, he can play.' But I was like, 'No.' And he's like, Sherrill said, 'I didn't ask about anything else other than if he could play center field in the big leagues right now.' And Jeff Cox says, 'Yes, he can.' And so that was how that went down. And I got to Kansas City, and I got called up that morning. Was in the game that night. That was before cell phones, so this is 1990. Right, so I got a hold of my mom in the airport in Atlanta. I flew from Huntsville to Atlanta to Kansas City. So I had a little layover in Kansas City, or in Atlanta. I was able to call my mom and let her know that I got called up, because it was not like today when everybody knows social media. It's on the bottom line of ESPN, all those things. So all your boys know, everybody knows, and no cell phone, so you can't call anybody. So I was on a payphone in the Atlanta airport, called my mom. She was able to meet me in Kansas City. She was able to get there for the game, for the game that night. But basically, what I was told when I came up was, you're going to play, and you probably be here for 2 or 3 weeks. And when guys get healthy and come back, we'll probably send you to AAA, and we'll see what happens there. And 10 years later, I was still in the big leagues. I was told I was going to be around for 2 weeks, and I played well enough in that short span that got me some extra time.
Right.
And I always just felt that I needed to play well enough to stick.
Yeah, agree.
And that's how my career, especially the first 3 or 4 years, I wasn't worried about anything other than just playing well enough to stick around for another 2 weeks.
So like when you got out, like for me, it's like I try to simplify things, and when I do it, like even like business or anything, I try to simplify things. Like it's like blocking and tackling. So were you out there thinking, if I get a fly ball, just catch the fly ball?
Right.
If a grounder comes out, just catch it and get it to the right person. Don't try to do too much.
No, I was just trying to do the basic stuff, like to stay alive to the next day.
Right.
Like, just don't mess up.
Right.
I was real cautious early.
Right.
Like, I don't want to mess up.
Right.
I want to make sure I'm in the right place at the right time. Early when I need to come early, work, stay late, do all the things. Just have the energy level every day, even though some days I didn't feel it. Just fake it. Have an energy level every day that show that you want to be here and you want to make sure that you stay. And I just remember every ballpark and every city that I go to, I was like, this may be the last time I come here. And so I go to the ballpark early. I would sit in the stands and I would walk around and just check out the ballpark. It's like, this is a big league ballpark. And I may not be able to come back into a big league ballpark again.
Right.
So almost my whole career, I go to the ballpark early. I sit in the stands early, just take it all in, and like to appreciate it. I walk around the city, appreciate the cities. So all the cities I was in, even the bad ones like Pittsburgh at that time, and Detroit in the early '90s, and Cleveland. I would just get out because like it's still a big league city.
Sure.
And I'm a big leaguer.
Right.
I don't know how long I'm going to be one, but I'm going to check out and enjoy. So I just wanted to make sure that I enjoyed the short time I thought I was going to be in the big leagues from what I was told, and enjoy it to the fullest. Because there's a lot of guys that say, we didn't enjoy it.
Yep.
We didn't get a chance to, enjoy everything that being a big league ball player, traveling all over the country. Getting to meet different people, do different things. It may be something as simple as going to a restaurant that you may not go to. One time when we were in Anaheim, I rented a car and I drove to Beverly Hills. I'd never been to Beverly Hills before.
Yeah, exactly.
This is like my rookie year. I was like, I don't know, we'll go check out Beverly Hills. I've never been there. All the talk is. So I rented a car early and I drove and checked it out. I didn't know about LA traffic. I almost missed batting practice coming back. But just do some things like that, because you didn't know when you get that opportunity, and the opportunity presented itself with being a Major League Baseball player to do some things. And instead of just sitting in my hotel room the whole time and go from the ballpark to the hotel room, I tried to get out, and there were some cities I'd never been to before. I heard good things about places, try to sightsee, do things like that, because I didn't know if I'd ever get the opportunity to do those things again.
Right. That's good stuff, man. That's an unbelievable story.